Well, that also gave more people to the chance to join. Hello, everyone. And what we are going to be doing today is, of course, preparing you for open mic. Everyone who is here with us has entered the open mic, either the students or the faculty one. So we are going to just talk about how to improve presentations and also some specific pointers on how to actually manage the different parts of the presentation and also the technical part, the technology that goes and the technology that often lets us down. So we will be talking about all of those things. And then after that, you can also ask me whatever doubts and questions you have, because I have noticed that there's a lot of confusion about how exactly the open mic is going to happen. So after we have this lecture and discussion, and please feel free to ask questions. And we'll have a little bit of an interactive talk, and then we will have more discussions at the end of it. So I will just share. When you think about emotions, and go with me, there's a reason behind this. One of the most, I think, strongest emotions we have is fear. Fear where your heart is thumping, where your mouth is dry, your hands are sweaty. You're literally shaking inside. I guess everyone might have felt that fear sometime. And have you experienced the time where something someone told you, someone that you trusted, made you overcome that fear? Jump in that pool of water, although you were terrified because maybe your dad was saying, I got you. That moment when you think you forgot everything in an exam, and that one teacher tells you, no, you know all this. Don't worry, you got this. And everything goes fine. Have you ever experienced that? If you have, then you know how strong feelings can be, but how much stronger communication can be. And I have experienced that firsthand. I was terrified of public speaking for quite a time because there was a big gap between the time when I stopped teaching and 3 years back when I wanted to start the channel. And I'm also naturally camera shy. This is a combination that does not really bode well when you want to start a YouTube channel and go live every week. But I knew I had to do it because that was the time when a lot of our youngsters were feeling very depressed, and I just wanted to be able to get out there and interact with them and make them feel better. But how? The one thing that really kept me going was my mom always telling me fear is not a good enough reason not to do something that needs to be done. And the second thing, anything can be learned. I combine those two together, and well, here I am today. I go live almost every week, sometimes more than once a week. I do not have that much of fear anymore. But the first 6 months were really tough. Still, I could get there, and you can get there. Now, I know you are in an open mic, so logically, you are not scared, which is a point, which is a great point. But the rest of it also is important. You have to learn how to present, and presentation is a learnable skill. And what you present, you would want it to be as powerful and as memorable, because you want to be able to, whatever you're presenting, at the end, you want it to have that impact. That impact that, say, what my mom told me had. That's communication you want to be able to do. And don't think it's only just because she was my mom. No. Any form of communication can be better and can reach the same outcome where it is really memorable and where it brings people to action, or whatever action you decide that you want them to have or do. So, this is where enhancing your presentation skills is going to be. What we are hoping to achieve is exactly that: enhance your presentation skills. And of course, every presentation is a communication. So, we are going to be talking essentially about communication. Now, there are ingredients for effective communication. There is the 4 C's of communication. We'll be talking about them more, but those combined where they are purposefully delivered to be memorable and impactful. So the memorable and impactful is also important. Now, what's communication? It's a message and it's a delivery. You have a message, you deliver it, that's communication. And it can be in different things. It could be a communication to one person, to a group of people, to a hall full of people, to the entire world, as you would do on a live stream. So it really doesn't matter. It's communication. There's a message, there's a delivery, it's communication. So, talking about the message, there are four things that are main about the message itself. First and foremost is that these are the four C's. So the first thing is clear value. Now, what is clear value? It's the value you know you're going to give your audience. There's a value promise. I decided that I was going to be the value promise of this talk was going to be that you would be able to make a better presentation for the upcoming open mic, a better virtual presentation. And the goal was to improve your presentation ability by a certain quantum. It wasn't to make you perfect because that would take many hours, but it was to share whatever I have learned, at least some of it, so that you can be better. So improve your presentation. The contextuality is relevant. The first of the context is, of course, depending on your goal. Now, if you're planning to improve presentations, you cannot, and these presentations are meant to be online presentations, you're not going to talk about essays, although those are also a form of communication and a presentation, but not relevant. The other part of relevance is, of course, to your audience. What is their level of understanding? What is their skill? Is that a mixed audience? Is it someone who is very new to the subject? Is it someone who knows nothing about the subject? Someone who is already an expert? Or maybe people who are with a mixed level of expertise on the subject. Accordingly, you will change what you're saying and how you're saying it. Another part is, again, the context is this, the situation, the purpose. So the same topic, whatever the topic may be, let's say for you are going to talk about ethics in dentistry. But if you're presenting it, say, in the open mic, it's going to be presented a little differently than when if you're presenting it in a seminar, than if you're presenting it in a panel discussion, in a 1 hour lecture, or in a keynote address. You get the point. It's going to be contextually different. It's the same talk, the same goal, but it's going to be different depending on where you're presenting it, what is the audience you're presenting it to. The next part is it should be clear. And clarity will only come when you yourself know exactly what you're going to say and you say it in the simplest words that are possible. I'm not saying oversimplify, but as simple as possible. And it is the possible is the point there. You don't have to make it simpler, but you need to make it as simple. Do not follow the curse of the expert, where you think or you cannot imagine what other people what other people's level of knowledge would be about your topic. You have to remember to enter from a point where others can understand. And to be sure that that is the case, the best is to run that talk by a group that matches your audience and see if they understand it or not. Another thing is concise. I think everyone agrees with this. First and foremost, of course, you have to be able to fit within the time limit given for that presentation. It is quite rude not to. Okay. Another thing is, when was the last time you attended a lecture and you walked away saying, "Oh, darn, I wish that lecture was longer"? Have you ever had that experience? I don't think I have ever had it. If you have ever had that experience, you can hit that react button and put a thumbs up. So I know that you have walked away from a lecture sometime thinking that, you know, uh, it was too short. Dr. Gauri, you have raised your hand. Is that instead of the thumbs up? If it is a thumbs up, just hit the thumbs up. There is the react button down here with the heart. If you click next to it, you can get, or you click on it, you get all the reactions and you can click on those. And yes, okay, thank you. It was all right. And please feel free to react. So I know that you all are all very much awake and there on the other side, like there is a reaction there. So these are the four things: clear value, contextually relevant, clear, and concise. And really, sometimes when you want to give a lecture, a talk, and you don't know what you're going to say, the reason is because you have not defined your goal. You've got to define your goal. And then, for example, the goal could very well be to win the open mic contest. That's also a goal. Now, another thing to make, coming to the next two part, is making it impactful and memorable. This is helped by two things. One is you have to structure your presentation. Every communication comes in two things. Either you're trying to convince someone of something, convince them of your expertise, convince them that this topic is important to learn, like when we give a lecture, convince someone to agree with you, convince someone to give you a big grant money, any number of things, convince them to give you a job. So there is convincing. And the next one is where you are trying to bring about an action. You want them to go out and do something. So that's the other type. Now, in these two, you have to, the way to structure a talk, depending on what's your purpose. So if you're trying to convince someone of something, the best way to structure the talk is actually as old as Aristotle, because it was decided by him when there used to be the art of rhetoric. So it was ethos, pathos, and logos. And of course, us as dentists, we all know what these mean. But to put it in terms of a presentation, ethos is basically what you are, your ethic, your presence, your truth, actually. So you are establishing what is your truth is, are you really fit to be giving that consultation, that talk, whatever, that communication? Are you the right person? So you're establishing your credibility on that topic. The next thing is pathos. So it's basically you're bringing about an emotion, because emotions are the best way to bring about action. So you could, convey any emotion you want. So you're trying to get someone to get very upset about something, angry about something, some injustice, and therefore move to action. Those are the emotions you will invoke. You want to feel someone to feel very happy. That's the emotion you will invoke. And logos, of course, is the logic of it, because emotions alone cannot carry anything forward fully. So you do need logic. That's all the facts and figures we generally put into everything that we say. Every time you use a citation, it's logos. It's the logic. It's the proof that you're putting in to prove there that there's a logical reason, there's a logical flow. Another thing, another structure which is very common is where you go from, it's a very easy one, where you get your talk or your communication in the what, so what, now what format. So let me give you an example. The majority of oral cancer patients who are diagnosed in the late stages will not survive up to a year. So what? That was what we're talking about. So what? This means that we could, by diagnosing them early, we could extend the amount of time they're alive. We could extend or improve the outcome. So so what? Now what? To ensure that we achieve that, we improve the life expectancy of all cancer patients, we should try and diagnose them early by checking everyone who walks into our clinic at least once a year for oral cancer. So we got the action. Now what? Okay. This is what we are going to do. So this is where you try, and this is the most common. There are others also, but this is the most common and the easiest. You just try and format your talk in this what, so what, now what. And that also gives you a flow. It also helps you if you forget where you were in your talk. By remembering this format, you can easily remember where you were better. The next two things are primacy and recency. Primacy is the first thing you say. People will remember the opening of your talk. Okay. They may forget everything in between, but they remember the beginning. So make the beginning count. And the next one is recency. So, which it means at the end, the last thing that you say is going to stay with them the longest. So, what you start with and what you end with, these need to be good and these need to be strong. The one thing you should not do is start by asking, am I being heard? that that really spoils the beginning. Unless, and I know that I am uh, actually found doing that quite often at the beginning of programs, live streams, if you're watching. But that is because I am the host. I am the one who actually takes care of the sound. And much as I hate it, sometimes I have to do because I have to test things. Okay. But if you are not the host, make the best of it. Don't start. If you cannot be heard, someone is going to stop you and tell you you are not being heard. You don't need to ask it. Okay. And definitely don't end with, okay, our time is up. That's the worst way because that's what people are going to remember is that you ran out of time. So, what you need to do is, and a lot of us, of course, practice the beginning of anything better because every time you are interrupted, you start from the beginning again. So, ensure that you practice the entire presentation, including the ending. Have a clear ending in your mind as to what you're going to be saying at the end. Right. So, hmm. Before we go on with the delivery, anyone wants to say any questions? If you have any questions or anything you want to ask, you can raise your hand and I will turn on the mics. Or do you want me to continue? A thumbs up in the react will make me continue. There's a react button. This is another thing you should do. You should get used to technology. You should be able to, yes. Huh, yes. Thank you, Dr. Rishi. Okay, I will continue. Right. So coming to the delivery. The Now this is the part where you have crafted a perfect message. It's all in place, everything is fine, its flow is there, its length is correct, everything is fine. So now you're going to deliver it. And how do you deliver it? There are three methods of delivery, really. There is verbal, there is non-verbal, and there is visual. So this part, of course, you know. So the verbal, the first is, of course, the words itself. That's verbal. Whatever you have written, whatever you're going to say, that's the power of the words itself. On the other hand, you have combining with the words. Never underestimate the effect of the sound. Now, what do I mean by the sound? Sound has many values by itself. Of course, you and your voice, basically, your voice has a melody, it has a pitch, it has a tone, and then you have the speed that you speak. So if you make these, uh, you know, combine a good variety in these, you will continue to keep your audience's uh, concentration and their engagement. If you, for example, now I will tell you about this now about the tone. If I had to keep talking for a long time in this tone, not only you would get bored, but even I would get bored. Okay, if you stay in just in a monotone where there is no ups and downs, where you're just saying things, and actually a lot of us, including me, keep falling back into a monotone. Do not do that. You have to mentally keep reminding yourself to raise your voice, lower your voice, increase and decrease your speed. And yes, you can also include a little bit of melody, especially if you have someone who has a melodious voice otherwise, or if you have and a knowledge of singing, you know how to take your voice up and down and use it. Now, I cannot sing to save my life. Okay. So I will not attempt it. But if you are someone who can, please go ahead and use it. It's very, very, very useful, actually. So this is about your verbal delivery, but definitely work on it. The same thing, you try saying it in one tone, then try saying it in another tone. And of course, never underestimate the power of silence. You can highlight something important by having a silence before it, where there is expectation, where people are expecting you to say something important, and you just pause, that expectation is increased. Or you just said something really important. Again, if you just pause, it impacts it and it again remains in their mind for a longer time. And the power of nonverbal delivery. There are over 2,000 exclamations, and they are supposed to give you 500 different emotions that they deliver. And for this, I just about have to put on, everyone, please put on your 1 minute. Hmm. Everyone, please put on your mics and your cameras if you want. We're going to do a little exercise. Right. Yes, yes. Thank you. Okay. Now, you do know we all use these expletives and, we use exclamations. Now, what I mean by nonverbal, and we underestimate their effect in a presentation, but they are as important in a presentation as they are otherwise. If you use it right, it really works. So why did I tell you to put on your mics? Because I want you to try this with me. The very simple word that we use, oh, right? All of us use it. Now, I want you to say it. You imagine you just stubbed your toe. How would you say oh? Now, everybody.
Ouch.
Oh, come on, let's everyone say it.
Oh. Ouch.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
That's not everybody.
Oh.
Yes. Now, supposing you just had a bad surprise, unpleasant one, what would you do? Come on, say it.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh, right.
Gosh.
Oh.
Oh no.
Yes. Yes. And supposing you just had something happy, something nice, how would you say it?
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Oh,
That's great.
Wow.
yes.
Oh.
Correct.
Wow.
And if it is something very sad,
Oh.
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 correct?
Oh.
Now you see, this is just one word, but you can convey so many things with it. And of course, there are so many. There is oh, ouch, ah. There's so many sounds. And don't think that you cannot use them in a presentation. You can use them in a presentation. It actually brings some variety, right? So, going on, that was to ensure that you're all awake. Yeah, well, this is the one problem with with a virtual presentation is that you can't be sure everyone is there. You could be very well talking to yourself. Oh, and by the way, let me say hi to Dr. Bhuvan, who is watching us on YouTube. Hi. Okay. So, right. And now coming to the visual delivery. That's the next part. Now, visual delivery obviously are two things. One is your presentation, the slides, etc., and one is you. As much important in the visual delivery as your slides and presentations. So let's go with the slides first. Now, this is from one of my old lectures where you can translate numbers. Now, what does it mean, translate numbers? You try and make it visual or verbal, right? For example, if verbal is like you want to tell people that something takes 5 years, we're talking about 5 year survival rate, correct? You can always verbally, if you want to establish this, you can say During the time that it takes you to do your BDS, any patients you see in the first year may not be there with us in the fifth by the time we are in the final year. Something that a person can really relate, because we human beings are not good with numbers. Numbers immediately turn abstract to us. It means nothing. Now, here I had done this for the number of people. The idea was how many people are diagnosed. After 5 years, how many are there? Less than 50%. And if they are in stage 3 or 4, actually it is at around 6 months, which means at 1 year they are not there. So this is getting numbers. This is what is called as translate your numbers. Don't just leave it as a number there. Try and bring it into something that can impact either visually or verbally. And of course, the pain of every viewer's life. Everyone watching a PowerPoint has to go and see these horrendous tables, which are just put there so that you can say it is there. So if you do have to put a table somewhere, take the trouble to type it out. Don't take a picture. Much as it's easy, you take a picture and you stick it there. No one can read it. And then if you really, if it is something that's not necessary for people who are viewing to read it, just don't put it there. It's very simple. Don't put it there. If you want to put it as a way of proof that, yes, this table exists and yes, I have referred it, then put the table as a little thumbnail in the corner with its reference and use the majority of the part to give an actual summary of the figures you are going to be talking about, or what you taught, the reason you thought it was important for the audience to actually see it. But please do not stick one crowded table in there. If anyway they can't read it, why is it there? It's simple as that. Okay. And then another thing you can do visually, you can emphasize numbers or size, the importance of something by changing the size of text, the size of the graphics. So from low to high, and again from low to high. You can do that. And of course, you can also, this gives you a chance, if you ever have some rider, something that's different, put it down very noticeably there. And I have to say, if today, this was a slide from almost 5 years back, I think. If I had to make this today, I would not have this thing crowding the background on top, quite unnecessary. Yes, it's a blue wave that I love. I love that color of that blue, but presentations are not supposed to be about the person presenting, it's about the person receiving. So it's about your viewer. And I think as a viewer, now when I look at this whole blue background, this design is quite unnecessary. I would not do this today if I was preparing this, but I put it there so that I could show you. I could have removed it. I wanted to show you that these things happen. Another thing, any image you use should actually be a part of the whole thing. Should add to the whole thing. Now I have this image, which took me an inordinately long amount of time to search. Again, now I think it was unnecessary, but it does give you all the things that you want. Healthy eating, exercise, sleep, regular checkups. So that was the reason. But whether it was worth the hours I spent searching for it, highly questionable. But anyway, if you do need to use, you need to use such images, it should at least sometime, lie in or connect with the content. And then here is another thing. Oh, take a break and relax your eyes. And this is something you should never do. Your last vacation, this pretty cat, this pretty scenery, definitely no. No. It's an absolute no. It's great for the person watching it, but there goes your audience. On what planet can you bring anyone's mind back from that to numbers? Here you have just given someone who already has a phone in their hand with an entire world in that phone a chance to think, lovely place. I wonder where it is. Let me take a click on Google and see if I can find the location. Oh, it's Iceland. Can we go there for our next vacation? I wonder how much it will cost. Let me check the ticket costs. And bye bye to your audience lost. Okay, that's not what you want done. That is definitely not what you want done. Never break away from the continuity of your presentation. Okay, these things have no place in your presentation. If you want to just give them a visual break, just leave a blanket screen. It's fine, but it's not taking their mind away somewhere far away. And you know, like there's a rule they say, no, as a guide, if you are a tour guide, you should never lose your group. And I think as a person who is a presenter or a speaker, you are like a guide taking people through a certain plan, through a journey. And you certainly should not be losing your audience. So please make sure you don't go and lose your audience by something like this. Whatever it may be, a cat, a dog, a scenery, whatever, your last holiday somewhere, don't do it. And now, of course, now that I have broken your thought process, please come back. So we can now, proceed. So again, I'm going to ask you, please hit the react button, do something so I know you are back with me, and then we will go on. Yes. Okay. Yes. Thank you. I think we have got at least some of you back with us. Okay, let's go. Right. So, sorry, did I miss one? No, okay. Right. So coming back to now, the other part of the visual delivery is you, of course. So first and foremost, you got to look the part. Turning up in old faded t-shirt, not a very dental thing to do. Okay. It may be okay for IT crowd, but then they are a different crowd. And it's not okay for our crowd. We dress differently. We dress for the job of paying doctors. So keep that in mind when you are in front of a crowd presenting. Okay. When you are attending is different. When you are presenting or you expect to be presenting, you're not sort of Mark Zuckerberg. You cannot pull off a hoodie. Just dress the part. Don't look floppy. The next thing is take space. Like I'm taking space. You take space. You don't hunch over. You don't become little. Be yourself. Expand in the space. And take up space, by the way, also is in the verbal presentation. In the sense, do not go over fast. So you also take up verbal space, which means you have to see that your content is short enough to fit comfortably in the space of time that you have been given. Because whenever either you become physically small or you reduce your, increase your verbal speed so that you occupy less time, both of these things make you lose power, your presentation power, your presence. So, which means the audience will not take you seriously because they feel you are not very dependable. So, don't do those two things. Another thing is look at the camera. Now, of course, if you are now, when I'm looking at you all, I look down, and also I have the advantage of being able to put my camera fairly behind, a long distance away. So even if I'm looking at my screen, it still looks more or less like I'm looking at the camera. I have also stuck one little sticket of a cat right under my camera so that I can look at it. Otherwise, it's very difficult to just look at the camera lens. But you need to look at the camera. The oldest thing you have always heard is establish eye contact. Eye contact in the virtual world is with the camera lens. So when you're talking, you need to be looking at the camera lens, not your screen. I know it is very tempting because especially when you're on Zoom is to look and see what everyone else is thinking. You see their expressions, you see what is there. For that matter, your slide is of course on the screen, which means you look down. Don't do that. Look at the camera. Another thing, of course, don't be robotic. Sometimes when you just put on the camera, goes on and everyone turns all very stiff. So that is something you got to avoid. Another thing for a presentation like this, choose how you share a slide. So you want to do, for example, in Zoom, now you can do the old way of sharing a slide, which is basically you share screen, you share your slide, but then it has its advantages. For example, because you're sharing it from PowerPoint, your animations will work. So that's an advantage. But the other thing is that it takes up your entire screen. Unless you have two screens, the minute you put PowerPoint in the presentation mode on Zoom, it takes up your entire screen. You don't see anything else. So if you want to avoid that, you can use, like I have done, is use it as a virtual, you use your PowerPoint as a virtual background. It saves you that entire thing of, sharing and where is my slide and where are the buttons, because it's right here down. And if you use a little bit of imagination, make a frame like this and see that you are placed in the frame. But this means you have to leave enough enough space in your slides to be able to do that. Now, when I was preparing these slides, I left one half, as you can see, free. Afterwards, I put this little box in there so that I could look there. Now, if I had not put that little box there, I would have looked like I was in the middle of air. That looked very odd. So I put the framework there. So just a little bit of aesthetics makes it useful, also because it will not distract people. And now coming to the technology, both for the preparation and for the presentation. Now, every one of you has literally a studio in your pocket. That's your phone. Please take it out and record yourself often. And especially if you're going to go live, is a little different from when you have to record something and present something. So make it a point. In fact, that's what I did. One of the things I did to prepare in the 15 days before actually starting the channel was every single day I would take out my phone and for 3 minutes just record myself talking about anything. It helped. So that is one of the first things you can do. The next thing you can do is, of course, in the preparation stage, is see that your Wi-Fi, see that your network connection is good from wherever you're going to be. If you do not have a Wi-Fi, it's a good time to invest one and get a broadband, because really, if you're doing a presentation, it all really is about, if it is live, it is all about your connectivity. If you are going to have breaks in the video, if you're going to have breaks in the sound, it just kills it. So if you're taking the trouble, this is a good time. Get yourself a Wi-Fi. It really makes a difference. And yeah, the camera, there's a rule of thirds. So first and foremost, frame yourself in the center. And you should occupy this much space. That is, if you had to break your screen into thirds, you should be in the center and extending to the top third. But leave a gap so that if you move back and forth, the top of your head is not cut, but you should not be too low. Now, this requires that you practice. Put on Zoom beforehand and see where you are. If you're too low down, if you're too high up, all of this is going to require either you raise yourself, put a cushion below you, or raise your chair, or maybe you have to raise your laptop, in which case you have to just put something below it and raise it. But basically, this is something you will not leave for the last half an hour before the day to do it. This, anytime you can put on Zoom, start a meeting by yourself and just do this on your own. You don't really need to do anything else. And again, remember to look at the lens. And coming to the light, the rule for the light is the light should be in front of you. It should never be behind you. Whether it's a window or natural light or any other light, it should not be behind you. Light should be in front of you. Now, of course, Zoom has a very marvelous thing that in its video adjustments, you can also adjust your light. So you can increase the lighting on you. But if the lighting is not enough, you will end up having this bands of dark line that keep running across. That's basically telling you that the light is not enough. So it just, again, doesn't look nice. Again, something you can practice and see by yourself well beforehand. Another thing is get yourself a headphone. Yeah, like mine, it may keep popping out, but get yourself a headphone. It is required because what will happen is, you see, once the sound is playing from your speaker, and your own mic is on, when you turn your mic on, if there is a lag in the internet speed, so whatever sound is playing will play back again, will go back again through your mic, and that can cause a certain amount of jarring. So to avoid that, wear headphones and also test your mic. Now these are again all things you can do beforehand. Put on Zoom, start a meeting, talk, record yourself, play it back, see how's the volume, how is the sound. And do remember that on Zoom, you can choose your camera, you can choose your mic, you can choose your speaker. So do all of that well in advance so you know what is required. And frankly, any problem you have, you can always search in Google. Just put it into Google and search, you will find enough number of solutions to the same thing. And okay, there's something called presentation hygiene. So, of course, is eat well, not just on that day, but always. And on that day, this is something I can tell you. If you're a little nervous and you feel that your throat is going to go dry and you're going to get one of those those kind of dry cough that is irritating the hell out of your throat, avoid dairy products. Dairy products cause extra amount of proteins and mucus to be there. So avoid dairy products on that day, or if you have this problem of dry cough, maybe even 48 hours beforehand. Then exercise, sleep well, and you got to do a vocal warm-up. Again, this we should do together. Please put on your mics. I promise not to trouble you all many more times, just the last few times. Yes. Right. So we have a vocal warm-up and we are going to do this together 6 times. We are going to say, start with me, teacup, hiccup,
Teacup.
teacup,
Hiccup.
Teacup.
cup,
Teacup.
teacup,
Teacup.
hiccup,
Teacup.
teacup,
Teacup.
teacup, hiccup. Now, this is the warm-up you need to do before you present. Of course, keep your mic off while you practice. Not just before, and don't let the whole world hear you going teacup, hiccup, teacup, hiccup. That would not be very good. But the reason is, when you say teacup, think about where the voice starts from. When you say teacup, it's the front. When you say hiccup, it's the back. Between these two words, you literally are extending the entire vocal cords, the vocal sounds that you could have. So that is why you have vocal warm-up. Another thing is, of course, especially in these online meetings, you're sitting, you're watching others talk, you're sitting quietly. And if you are a little down the line, if you're not the first or second, by the time you have already been sitting quietly for quite some time, and then suddenly you got to speak. So don't let that happen. Well before, as your turn is coming up, keep your mic off and speak, even speak to yourself. No one can hear it. And if your camera is off, no one can see it either. So just let it not be the first thing that you say after a gap is going to be your talk. No, that's not the good way to go. Just do a little bit of vocal warm-up. Another thing is stretch and move. Now, if you have I have to say, even today, and I think anytime, and it's a good thing, we tend to have a little bit of a rush of adrenaline just before presenting. It's a good thing because it gets your memory going. But it also, if it's a little too much, it can make you feel a little stiff and a little tense. So just before that, it's good. One of the best ways to get rid of that excess adrenaline is to move. Just move yourself in whichever way you can. Just move yourself. If you're standing, get up and stretch, sit a few times, do a little sit-ups. But basically, every movement actually gets the adrenaline going. It is something you can do even before a viva. Just see that you are in some corner and not within sight of your teachers and examiners, definitely. But it does help. It helps anywhere where you are tense. So this is about the exercise, the presentation hygiene. And technology-wise, the last few things to do. Update your system. A lot of systems have automatic updates, and you can be sure it will decide to update itself in the middle of your presentation, therefore taking bandwidth. So update your system before, clean up the memory. You have this clean, you run it so that its processes can run faster on your system. You download or update your Zoom app. Definitely you need the Zoom app. If you're making a presentation on Zoom, do not try it from the browser and do not try it from the mobile. The next one is, of course, after you have finished with the updates, you pause automatic updates for a week at least. Then you check your camera and mic, charge your device. If it's a laptop, definitely charge it. And although I'm saying do not use the phone, keep it as a standby, but also decide beforehand that if you do need to use it, how you're going to use it. The last thing you want to do is to be looking down at a phone. It is your worst profile. It's the worst image you can have is of a camera looking up at you. So adjust where you can rest your phone in case you do have to use it. Enough number of books, a little big mug behind it to support it, or a mobile stand if you have one. So be prepared. Another thing is turn off and disconnect every other device that's connected to the same router or Wi-Fi. We often forget that today most of our TVs are connected to our Wi-Fi, and every device that is connected to the Wi-Fi will be using it even if it is off at that moment. So physically turn off the power of your TV. Tell everybody else who's on the same Wi-Fi, please don't use it. And be in the same room as your Wi-Fi. And if you can connect through a wire to your router, it is the best. So with that, we have reached the end of the presentation points. And now I'm going to request everyone, put on your mics, put on your cameras, tell me what questions you have. Do you have any questions? Any thoughts, any doubts? Okay, while you think about your questions, let me start telling you about what is going to happen on the day of the contest, right? So the order is going to be of the present. We are basically going to be on Zoom, exactly the way we are today. The only thing is each one of you will get 5 minutes to present. The order of the presentation is going to be exactly in the order that I received the forms, and I will share it with you all. Each of you will get 5 minutes, and 5 minutes is strictly followed, which means I will stop you after 5 minutes. So you have to practice. And to give you an idea, 5 minutes means roughly about 750 to 1,000 words, depending on how fast you speak. The average person speaks at around somewhere between 125 to 200 words per minute. Now, judge your own speed. Take a 200 word or a 300 word thing, say it out, record yourself, see how long it took. So that will be your speed. And therefore, you have to practice accordingly. Choose the content accordingly and practice accordingly. So 5 minutes is going to be your presentation. You will be starting with saying your topic. I will introduce you only by saying your name. So if you're using, and you can use PowerPoint presentations, as you saw. It's not essential. I think a lot of great presentations can be without a PowerPoint. Some of the best TED Talks in the world, and they are like the standard of talks, are without a PowerPoint. So really make a judgment call as to what you want. There are pros for both, but if you don't want to use a presentation, it's perfect. All eyes on you. They can see what you are saying better, right? But the 5 minutes is very essential. I am going to be in the next 2 days sharing the link of where this is going to be live streamed to, which is on YouTube. And you need to share that with everyone that you want to vote for you. Because there is going to be 50% weightage to what the audience chooses. There's going to be actual voting, and 50% of the choice or the weightage of who gets what is by the audience votes. And 50% is by experts. We are going to have 3 judges, right? So both are equally important. And yes, now what questions you have? Anything? Everything is clear? How nice.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Actually, I'm still undergraduate student who is studying in just PU, like second year. So as of now, I don't even know all the topics regarding dentistry. So I would prefer to just take a smaller topic, but I would like to present it in a better way possible.
Mhm.
So just suggest me some ways to do it.
It depends on your topic, really.
Hmm.
And the topic can be anything. It can be your experience of first year.
It's a good one.
Okay. It can be anything. That's why I said it is anything that you think of a group of dentists, because finally the majority of our audience is going to be dentists. Okay. So anything that would be interesting to a dentist to listen to. Yeah, you have the
Thank you.
world. There is so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Yes. Anyone else? Yeah, and it doesn't have to be oral pathology, definitely. Okay, because some people thought, I mean, I know it is oral pathology 360 conducting it, but it is not oral pathology limited. It is anything that has anything to do with dentistry, with head and neck, with oral diseases, with the management, with with teaching, with ethics. Think about anything you can think of. Patient experience. And also, just to tell you, I know you have had to, yeah, Dr. Sweta is asking, can you repeat regarding virtual screen sharing? Yes, I will. So, what was I saying? Although you have given me a title and you have given us a short write-up about your presentation, you can change both. Okay. I will, before that day, I will send you one final thing where you can give me the final title, because I know it was early and you may, after you practice, you may want to modify it, just as long as I have the title. And anyways, frankly, I'm not going to be announcing the title, so it's cool. You are going to be announcing the title of your talk. I'm only going to say who's speaking next. So don't worry about it. Okay, about the virtual sharing. Now, virtual sharing is 2 ways on Zoom, because remember, like I said, we are going to be on this platform. So virtual sharing on Zoom, one of the ways is, of course, you hit the share and you say you want to share. Where is it? Documents. So this is where you just share your PowerPoint. And now this, like just now I had all the problems of actually achieving this, is because it takes over your entire screen. And if you're trying to do it on one screen, basically you can't see anything else. But if you use it as a background, when you hit on the share screen and then you hit on advanced, so the third option there is advanced, and then it says PowerPoint as a background. The minute you click on that and you click share, it gives you an option to choose your PowerPoint. And then the PowerPoint gets uploaded into the system, which, like how you saw my PowerPoint, it just shows like that. I hope I answered your question. And you can actually put on your mic and tell us if there is anything else.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so
Dr.
much.
Shweta. Yes. Hi.
Hi.
You're welcome. Yeah, I frankly think it's the best is to use it as a virtual background.
Done, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then you can also leave a space for your camera feed. Because otherwise what will happen is it will, now another thing. Remember that we are live streaming to YouTube. Now, YouTube is going to show the feed that we send from here as the whole. Now, if you had to see this afterwards on YouTube, there will be only one little picture at the side on top, which will be you. And the rest is the presentation, which means the audience who are actually going to be voting for you and most of who are watching on a mobile are not really going to be seeing you much. So if you keep yourself as a bigger picture down, of course, they will see you two times because they will see you in the slide and they will also see you up there in the corner. But that's okay. That's a small little thing that goes just in the, you imagine the top 1 inch by 1 inch corner of your slide will be your image.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. If you watch some of our, actually, if you watch some of our, no, recent live streams, we are not doing through Zoom. So this problem does not exist. Yeah. Our very, very old live streams when we had just started, where we used to use Zoom, we used to have that issue of the picture being there at the side, very little thing there at the side, which, and you can't even remove it. That's the only problem. So,
By
yes.
this way,
Anything else?
We'll do trial error and learn this, ma'am.
Yes, you do trial and error and learn this. Yes.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're most
For the
welcome.
tips.
Ma'am, I have a question here.
Yes.
Ma'am, do we need to introduce ourselves? Because once you like say that the other person is going to start the presentation, so shall we introduce ourselves a bit, or we should directly start with the topic straight away?
I would suggest you have a short introduction because I'm only going to say name. Like I'm going to say this, okay, the next speaker is Dr. Amit Chawla.
Yeah.
So to put some context, if you would want, you can say like, I'm a practitioner practicing oral pathology and practicing dentistry or
Ma'am,
whatever.
that will be considered under 5 minutes or out of 5 minutes?
Yeah, it's going to be a part of your 5 minutes. There is no way of separating it.
So I think we should not consume more than 30 seconds for that.
Not more than 30 seconds. Yeah. You can just say what you're doing. That's about it, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Someone was asking me something. Let me see something in the chat. Dr. Anita. Okay. Present live or record and send. Yes. Dr. Anita, we're going to have live this time because I figured that the end of the day, finally, it's going to be, the importance is to see the entire presentation, how everything happens, how not when you pre-record and send, a part of the presentation ability is lost. We had done it in the last open mic, so we are not doing it that way. We are actually going to have it live. Yeah. I hope you will find it more interesting. Where did everyone go? So it depends. Yes, it is going to be after. Thank you for coming back. I was suddenly feeling like I was all alone. Okay, so the presentations both for the faculty and for the students are starting at 3 o'clock. Now we have more entries for the students, so that day the presentations will be longer. I think we may go on almost 3 hours. Because I didn't want to exclude anyone. I wanted everyone to get the chance to actually make the presentation. So it's going to be almost 3 hours on that day. But the faculty one, I think, is going to be probably about 1.5 hours. So depending on that, it will take different amounts of time. Yes. Okay. Anything else? Any other doubts? Right. And this presentation, I will try and share it with you all. Give me till tomorrow to figure out whether I can share it through Zoom itself. And I will send you all an email again. If it can be through Zoom, if it cannot be through Zoom, then I will upload it on the channel and keep it as an unlisted video, and I will send you all the link. So you can watch it if you want to watch it again. And Dr. Kirti is asking, is it compulsory to make a PowerPoint? No, it is not. In fact, today I would have preferred to have given this talk without a PowerPoint, to be very frank. But I only made the PowerPoint to be able to show you all about the PowerPoint. But otherwise, not necessary. Some of the best talks in the world are without any PowerPoint at all. It really depends on what you want to say and how much of imagery is required for it. Some things are difficult to put across by just words. So it depends on that. Yes. Anything else? Right. Also, I need to clarify a couple more things. One is there is this confusion, I think, about the faculty competition. So what will happen is whoever wins this session will get to present a live lecture on our Oral Pathology Tuesdays series, which are there twice a month now. And there are going to be 2 more competitions for faculty between now and March of 25. So there will be eventually three events, 3 winners, and these 3 winners will have one competition against each other at the end, where the winner then gets to be the guest speaker, the rising star guest speaker at our International Oral Diseases Case Presentation Conference. I hope I have made that clear now. And for the students, there is going to be only one competition this year. The next one will be next year. So when you win, you win. You're the winner this year. And what is going to happen is that you will get the chance, the winner gets a chance to submit a 20-minute video that will be added to our archive of videos on the channel. And for the students, both the student and any one supervisor, if you have included a supervisor or a guide, so but only one supervisor or guide, and you will get the certificate. For the faculty, obviously you will just get the certificate yourself. So okay, let's see, is it then number of participants in the students category is around 30, I think, at this moment. So which is why, so around 1 hour, 1 hour for every 10, and that's so where we are. There is going to be time in between lost with the share and with one person taking over from the next. So keeping all that in mind, we will be taking around 3 hours. Faculty participants, Dr. Swapna, is around 11 or 12. You are most welcome.
Excuse me, ma'am. I have a doubt regarding topic selection. Like already we have submitted a title. Like being oral pathology in a oral pathology fraternity, like topic is related to oral pathology, of course. But as you had mentioned, the audience will be like mixed crowd, right? Related to.
Yes.
Yeah. So would you recommend to choose something in general, or is it fine confining to our specialty?
It's entirely up to you. I'm telling you what the audience is like. Okay. It is true that on the channel, a good part of the audience is going to be oral pathologists. But also remember that all the colleges that are taking part will be informing their students to attend, their faculty to attend, because there is voting involved. So you are definitely going to have a mixed crowd. But it's really up to you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Open mic for faculty is, yes, on 13th August. For students is on the 27th of August. So students have more time. The sequence of presentations in the next couple of days, or within the next 3-4 days, you should have the sequence. Anything else? So are you all excited? Good. Yes, wonderful. So you can, that's nice. Okay, that's what I love to hear. It makes it worthwhile if people involved are really excited about it. Otherwise, it's like we're just doing something. Thank you all. That really makes all the difference. Actually, with everything that we do, it really makes a difference when people are interested. Yes, okay. Oh dear, this ear thing is still coming out. Okay. So, right. So, shall we call it a break? And
Ma'am, I have a question.
yeah, yes, Amit, where are you?
Ma'am, you said that it's better to do it from the laptop or desktop.
Yes.
So is it uh, necessary to do it through a desktop, or still we can use some iOS like Apple device or mobile?
I don't know if Zoom, I don't think Zoom has any problem with the Apple devices. Some things don't work very well with Apple devices, frankly. I don't know if Zoom is one of those things. So that you have to check
Okay.
for yourself. But see, the
Okay.
thing with the mobile is basically, from whatever I have seen, the presentation is not neat.
Okay.
One is your image keeps going up and down, and then you are in an
Yeah.
entirely different format from everybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, if it's the last resort, I can understand. But otherwise, if it is at all possible from a tab or anything that basically has the landscape presentation possible, it will be
Okay.
better.
Okay, ma'am. Fine.
Yeah. And definitely see that you are somewhere where you are not traveling, or you are properly placed somewhere. I have had this experience where uh, you call someone to speak, or you call someone to do something, maybe when moderate a session, and the person is on road from somewhere to somewhere. Now that just doesn't come out right. If people are taking the time to be present to listen to you, then you at least owe them in to be well planned enough to be somewhere stable and static, not moving on a road. So just keep that in mind. I mean, you can be at home, you can be at work, you can be somewhere else, but just somewhere, because nothing is more distracting than people walking about, or that movement and scenery and everything. It's just not right. It's okay for just a meeting, but it's not okay when you're presenting. Right. Anything else, folks? You want to put on your cameras? We'll take one picture to keep for our meeting, for our preparation meeting. Yes. Where's everybody else? Hi, Swapna. Nice you put on your camera.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, dear. Hello, Dr. Anita. Yes, Dr. Anita has experience. She did an excellent presentation the last time. Right. Okay, let me click. Anyone else adding? Hello. Okay, nice. Okay, let me click. Click, click, click. Yes. Got that. Okay. Thank you, folks.
Ma'am, will there be a question answer session?
No.
Or it's just that after the presentation, it goes to the next presentation?
Yes,
So no
after
question answers.
presentation.
Okay.
No question answers because there's no time, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and also it is about the presentation. The judgment is about the presentation. It's not even so much about the content. Beyond the fact that the content needs to be interesting enough to get the audience's
Yes.
attention, but it's the sum total of the presentation, the public speaking experience and the presentation experience.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
So, welcome. Right. Okie dokie, folks. Should we say bye-bye? I think so. And I think we are a little over time. Okay. For 1 hour. But that's all right. As long as everyone's questions have been answered. Right. Okay. So I shall end the meeting. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're most welcome. It was lovely talking to you. It was lovely meeting everyone. And I look forward to seeing you at the contest.
Sure.
Have a
Thank you,
great
ma'am.
time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Take
ma'am.
care. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.